guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a very special episode. We are going to be talking all about couples matching. We're going to meet my two very best friends, Leah and Zach, and they're going to talk to us all about the ins and outs of what to do if you are couples matching.
Hi, I'm Leah Frischman. I went to the University of Dayton for undergrad. I was a pre-med major, and then I did a minor in business administration. We're both currently at Indiana University, and I'm applying OBGYN.
I'm Zach Gunderson from a small town in Northwest Indiana. Went to IU Bloomington for undergrad, and now I'm at IU School of Medicine. I'll be applying orthopedics.
Zach and I actually met at our med school prom during our first year, so highly recommend going to those events. And then we've been, he did his first 2 years in Indianapolis, so we are actually apart. I moved to Indianapolis my third year, and we've been together since. We're going to talk to you today about couples matching, and while we're doing that, show you around some of our favorite places in Indiana.
First stop today is going to be Eskenazi. It's actually the county hospital here, but it's very nice. I actually had my surgical ICU rotation here.
I had my emergency medicine rotation here.
What exactly is couples matching?
So the couples match is kind of a way to link our two rank lists so that we try to end up at the same place. And you can do it with anybody. Usually it's somebody who's your significant other.
And there is a really good YouTube video on this that the NRP made, which we can probably link for you guys. The next stop is Parlor House. Zach and I love to come here and study. It's a really cute place to drink some coffee, and then at night it actually turns into a bar. So we'll show you inside.
What are some drawbacks and what are some benefits of couples matching?
So I'll go and talk about the benefits first. The biggest benefit is that you have a better chance of ending up at the same residency spot or city as your partner, whoever your couple's matching with. And so you really can make your rank list more tailored to your guys' priorities, whether that is same school or same location. So that's the main priority.
Yeah, and then some disadvantages. It is tougher because if one person doesn't get into a certain school, that rank kind of drops off. So if she gets into somewhere and I don't, then like that's kind of off the list. So it's just more difficult. You end up dropping further on the list. But
I think the biggest drawback is the fact that you have to compromise on your own rank list. I might have my own rank list and it might vary from him, and so we have to compromise when making it. So that would be the main drawback.
Okay. Are there any additional costs to couples matching, or how does that work?
Unfortunately, there is when you're applying. So when you apply to NRP, in order to rank, you have to say whether you're going to couples match or whether you're not going to couples match. And if you do couples match, the initial fee is an additional $45.
yeah, and then after that, the issue is when you're couples matching, you do longer rank lists because you have so many combinations. It's $85 for your first 20 ranks, but after that, it's $30 each rank. So if you have to do 100 ranks, that's like an extra $3,000.
And then additionally, depending on what how long your list is, you then get an additional charge, whatever the number is for, you know,
if you're over 100, it's like 50 extra bucks that they tack on. So yeah, it just goes up and up.
So the more programs you apply to, the more expensive it becomes.
Correct.
And couples have to apply to more programs.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to add on too. That's really important to consider, that you typically apply to more places, and so you also do end up incurring more fees on the front end as well.
So what about same-sex couples, and who exactly can participate in couples matching?
You can absolutely couples match with a same-sex couple. You actually can couples match with your best friend. Although that is not recommended, just due to the fact of the things that you have to compromise on, and you're truly basing your residency choice off of someone else. Typically recommended, you know, that you're really serious, whatever relationship you're in, when you're making this decision.
So this is Fairbanks. This is actually where we do a lot of our simulation. We're just going to show you out back because it's a really pretty view.
Is it helpful to be married or engaged when you guys are couples matching?
So yeah, some people are like worried about not coming off off as serious with one another. We're not engaged, so when we went through it, there were a lot of questions of like, are you guys married? Are you guys, like, what's the relationship? You have to put forward that, like, you guys are very serious, because couples match is very serious.
Yeah, we knew a couple of our friends who were ready for that step, so they just went ahead and did it before the match process just to make things easier. But personally for us, whenever I got asked the question, you know, I always just said, if I wasn't serious about my relationship and couples matching, then I probably wouldn't be going through all this. Typically seem to go over well and get some chuckles and laughs.
So basically what they want to know is that you guys are serious with one another, because sometimes when a program's really interested in one of you, they might call the other department just to make sure, you know, what the standing is with the other applicant. They might say like, hey, we really want this person, like, can you help us out and take the other person, you know, to get the compliment.
Can you couples match with someone from a different medical school? And then also, do you guys have to go to the same residency program?
Yeah, sure. That's actually something that was really confusing when we first started to do the couples matching. We're at the same school, but you actually can couples match with anyone. The only thing is that they have to both be applying for residency. So if you are dating someone who's either younger or older than you, then you couldn't technically do couples match because they're not doing the match system. So yes, the short answer is you can couples match with anyone at any medical school as long as they're going through the match process. Regarding where you match, you do not actually have to match at the same residency program. That's actually also something that was pretty confusing at first that I didn't know. This is the Ball and Biscuit. This is one of the fun places on Mass Ave that like a lot of the students and the residents like to go to. So we'll go in and have our final questions answered there. Yay!
Next question is about combinations. What are they? And how is your match list organized as a couple?
Yeah, so this is one of those things that's actually really confusing, and we'll make sure we put the link below on the actual video that explains this. But the best way to kind of go about it is I'll just give some examples. So the state schools that I'm most familiar with are Indiana and Ohio, because that's where I did undergrad. For instance, if we both wanted to put Indiana as number one, we would put Indiana. So this is Zach's rank list and this is mine. And that would be our first combination. The next thing you have to consider are there other programs in the same city that you could make different combinations and still end up in the same city? So for instance, OB has St. Vincent, but IU is the only ortho program in Indianapolis. So his rank list would go IU, and mine would go IU, St. Vincent, hopefully, so then that would be another combination. So the next example would be Ohio. Towards the end, if we were trying to figure out how far we would feel comfortable living apart or whatnot, and Zach really wants to go to IU, I could put the closest Ohio school. So I could put IU, Ohio State, or he could put IU and I could put Cincinnati. And so you go through and you make all those combinations, and you have to have those conversations with your partner on, is it more important for you to be in the same city, or is it more important for you to both be at schools that you really like, but you might have to be driving separately? So those are kind of all things to consider.
So what happens if you break up or split up from your partner during couples matching?
So before your rank lists are due, you can like split up at any time and decouple. You just both have to press the button on the NRMP site and it'll break the two up.
For some terrible reason you happen to break up after you submit your rank list, unfortunately that is solidified, and that is, you can't change your rank list, and you potentially might be going to the same school, but you might just try to avoid them a little extra.
So we've actually come to the end of our video. I wanted to close and ask, what advice or tips do you guys have for the viewers watching?
Yeah, so we actually have a lot of tips and tricks to do. The first thing, the biggest thing for our situation is that we both had interview release dates, which means the residency programs pick one date to release all the interviews on for my programs and for his. And unfortunately, they were like almost 4 weeks apart, which makes it really challenging to try to, decide whether you're going to accept an interview or not. So what we did, side note, we also recognized that we were going to have to interview at a lot more places than the typical applicant just to feel comfortable with our couples match rank list. So the first thing I did is before I even got my interview offers, I made a calendar of all of the interview dates of the program so that I could try to maximize the interviews and kind of try to align like, oh, I'm going to interview at program A on this day and program B on this day. And although that didn't necessarily always work out, it actually was really helpful. So when you get that interview offer, you can click that date as soon as you get the email and you don't even have to think about it. The next thing we did is that we kind of like had to have a realistic conversation of like how competitive we were for each of our specialties and recognizing, okay, well, if he was more competitive than me, then maybe he might be able to pull me into a program and vice versa. So what we did is the programs that we thought he would have a better chance at or that I would have a better chance at, we sent emails out prior to them releasing interviews saying, hey, we're couples matching. If you're interested in us, we would really appreciate if you reached out to the other ortho program or OBGYN program so that they could give their Zach or me an interview offer.
I would definitely say that was like one of the most important parts was once one person in the couple gets an interview to somewhere, you should send an email that says from like, who sent it? I forget. Was it I would send it if you had the interview?
Yeah, there's actually varying opinions on this. Some people say the person who has the interview should send it. Other people say the person in the couple who doesn't have the interview should say, hey, my significant other interviewed at both. We honestly kind of did a combination of both. And sometimes during the interview, the program director will say, okay, I'll actually reach out to the ortho program director or the OB program director.
Yeah, and you can include like that program coordinator or that program director in your email and be like, hey, you know, like Zach was hoping to hear back for an interview, like, could you please reach out or something like that. I feel like that definitely netted us a few interviews for sure.
I typically did bring up the fact that I was couples matching in interviews because it's something that was really important to me and they needed to know that if it was somewhere I was seriously considering. Some people don't bring it up, but for me, I always tried to advocate for Zach and make sure that they knew that how interested he was in their ortho program as well, and that we both were very excited to have the opportunity to be interviewing.
I would definitely bring that up. I got a lot of feedback on the interview trail. Like right when you say like, oh, and I'm couples matching, they immediately start writing and they want to reach out to the other program and they want to figure it out. If somebody likes one of you but not the other, you might be able to drag each other into that, you know, into the program.
The other biggest thing I would say is definitely do not go through this process alone. What we did is we made sure that we had someone from the medical school who was very familiar with couples matching as an advisor. And then the other thing is that we've talked to other people who have successfully couples matched, set realistic expectations, because as a couple you might be, like you said, you have to prepare to not rank at your number one, maybe not even your top 5. And then again, our priority is to be together. So.
And then final point is, if being together is your most important piece of the puzzle, then I would definitely, when you're applying, try to apply to the same cities and with multiple programs in the same cities. If you apply to a ton of New York City stuff, and let's say you get 1 or 2 or whatever, if you have 3 each, that's 9 combinations. And so it really helps you get into places if you have the same cities, if that's what your goal is for the couples match.
Thanks so much for following along today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Jasmine and she can reach out to us.